It's really important to do this because when you actually have that in place, you can raise the cash a lot faster. An evergreen roadmap is a roadmap that allows you guys to continue to go back to the well and nurture that relationship over and over and over again. This is the thing that from your perspective, it's like I was telling with Cam and Tess, dig your well before you're thirsty. This is the roadmap that allows you to build all that goodwill. The best time to raise money is when you don't need it. Literally when you don't need it. Who was saying that they were you were telling me you guys were oversubscribed. You had more people that wanted to invest than couldn't invest. It's a good feeling, right? Well, because you can then go back and say, hey, sorry, too bad. You missed it. Here's the next one. Do you want us to put you on the list? And while you don't have the next one, you could keep telling the story about the one you just closed. Why do you think M&A guys or mergers and acquisitions guys always post successes of the buildings they just financed or the things they just sold? Because they want the phone to ring on somebody else that says, hey, I also have this thing. Hey, I have this thing. I have this thing. That's all it is. So how do you create that for yourself? You got to get into that. So it's really important to do this because when you actually have that in place, you can raise the cash a lot faster. So what does that evergreen roadmap look like? Well, for one, becoming a capital raiser, thinking with more zeros. So what are the things that you guys are currently doing that make you think bigger? Like if you've raised $100,000, why did you only ask for 100,000? Why didn't you ask for $1 million? If you raised $1 million, why didn't you think of 5? Why didn't you think of 10? I understand that the deal limits are there, but I'm telling you, the skill set of knowing how to find the capital, it will be there for you. So having that capital raising mindset is something massive. The second piece that is part of your evergreen strategy for you guys is knowing how to package your offer. Packaging your offer, I can tell you right now, is probably going to be more important than having the best offer. I'm not saying you don't have a great offer. I'm just saying that if you have two offers side by side and one is packaged, and I don't mean promoted better, I mean legitimately packaged better, structured better, governance, due diligence, all these different things. If it's actually structured better, you will attract people with bigger checks. If they for example, if you haven't heard of the term corporate governance, that's another thing that will literally distinguish you between somebody else who doesn't understand that terminology. Because if you go to somebody like the EMDs and they're like, well, what's your corporate governance like? And they say, well, I mean, we have governance, if you you're just going to laugh, right? Because they know that you don't know. And immediately the conversation is over or it's changed drastically. What are the controls? What are these different things?
So good advisory.
Good advisory, 100%. Yeah. Yeah, there's advisory work. That's right. I told you guys about the meetings, creating real demand and urgency. So objection handling. So most people, when they get an objection, they just freeze, right? How do you objection handle? It's beyond the context of what we're doing here today, but there is an entire comprehensive process around this on how not to be combative with your investors. Automating your lead generation. As I stand here today, I checked from when I started this presentation to when I went and had my sandwich for lunch, we had another 45 leads come in. It's automated. I'm here. I'm doing something else, right? So how do you guys do that? How do you create automated leads in your funnel? And by the way, not everybody's going to write you $1 million check, but you don't need this. You just need a certain percentage of people that are qualified to engage. That's all it is. And then building your brand, we talked about that. Nailing your due diligence. I can tell you right now, when we were in New York for the $100 million commitment, our data room looked very different than the data room that, maybe you put together for a triplex. Very, very different. So building out a data room, what does that mean? What does it look like? ChatGPT is not going to build you a data room, just so you guys know. Ultimately, for those of you sitting there trying to Google this stuff, there's a very particular way to do things that the institutional guys, the private equity guys, even sophisticated investors want to see things. What does that look like? So the evergreen roadmap, but if you're sitting here and you're like, look, I got it. Cool, you got it. If you want help with the stuff longer term, that's what the M1 Inner Circle is. Literally, because you'll leave here and you'll be able to do a few things But the thing is that this is a reiterative process. The first I called it M1 because literally the first million is the hardest. It is the hardest $1 million to raise because you're bumpy, you're grinding, you don't know the rules, you don't know the laws, paperwork. It's a hot mess if you don't know what it is. So that's literally what our business is to show you the different steps and put you in touch with the right people.